Alex Vlasic is here. Taylor Hall clears the air, and the lines, they are a-changin'. All that and more on today's CHGO Blackhawks. Happy Monday. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. I'm Jay Zawoski with Greg Boyson and Mario Tirabassi. We've got Alex Vlasic here with us in studio. Very exciting. Do us a favor and hit that like button for us. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page as well. And if you're listening on the podcast, follow, subscribe, and like and review. Please, that would be very, very helpful. Alex, we are happy to have you here, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's a big day. I don't know if we can talk about it. I guess we're going to talk about it. The Road to the Winter Classic camera crew is here filming the festivities. They've been following you around all day. How's that been?
Good. Yeah, it's just good. I wasn't mic'd up in practice. I feel like that's always hard. I think Fliggy was the one today for us. So, but yeah, it's been good. It's kind of exciting to see how it's all made. I feel like growing up, I was always watching those, those little things on NHL Network and everything. So yeah, it's really cool.
Is it hard to act normal when you have a camera crew following you?
Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely talking to myself or singing along in the car or something if I'm just driving by myself. So I got to make sure I'm acting cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got to be a bit awkward when you're mic'd up on the ice. Are you are you thinking about it a lot? Are you trying to be more entertaining?
I feel like some guys do get like that, and those are the guys that get chirped for when they're mic'd up. You don't want to be that guy. So if anything, I feel like a lot of times, especially myself, guys will just be more quiet, and then it just doesn't provide for good value for whoever, the production that's micing you up, because you're not really saying anything. But I try to, sometimes if it's a game, you're obviously kind of involved in the game and you're not really thinking about it in the moment. But if it's practice, you're definitely thinking about it.
Well, it could be the opposite though, because I heard last year a former teammate was mic'd up for a game and they couldn't use most of it because there were too many.
Colin Blackwell?
No, it wasn't.
Keep going.
But he was. They couldn't use 90% of the stuff.
Yeah, I wonder who it was.
It was a little R-rated. So.
Yeah, I'm sure it all is during a game.
Let's start. We want to start with you. It's our first time formally talking to you outside of a locker room setting, and as a kid who grew up in Chicagoland, to live the dream of playing for the Blackhawks. And now signing a nice contract this summer, contract extension to be here. What's it like, man, growing up to play for the team you cheered for?
Yeah, it's so surreal and special to me and my family as well that's been able to come to pretty much all the games. I think this summer, when I signed that contract, it kind of became a little bit more real. I feel like before that it was, you're kind of wondering, am I going to stick around here? Am I going to be part of the plans? Am I going to get sent down or whatever? So for me to be able to sign that and kind of have that feeling, hey, this will be my home for the next 5 years or so, that's pretty cool and pretty special. And the fact that I get to do it in my hometown is even better.
Does that get you to more confidence on the ice, just knowing that you have that peace of mind of that security? Hey, I'm part of the long-term plans here. Now let me show them why.
I think so. Yeah. I think, you want to earn the coach's trust. And I felt like last year I was able to do that with our D coach. And once you kind of develop that, you do get that sense of confidence and comfort. And this year, I don't know if it's, necessarily the contract or just the second year being around here and kind of knowing that I belong and kind of having that type of confidence. I feel like that's what's been a big thing for me this year is I'm not really too worried about making mistakes. I'm just kind of focused on pushing myself, pushing the team, and trying to do everything I can to win.
Do you feel like that's something that's hard for young guys, especially defensemen, where if you're fighting through things or you make a mistake or something, it can get amplified more because it could lead to goals and stuff. Do you feel like having that confidence is harder to develop when you're younger? Because you're a guy that I think we have alluded to as like thinking the Blackhawks have like this process of developing guys, going to Rockford, taking time, being a little bit more patient. Is that something that like you found was something that had to grow through all those years, like a few years in college, playing in the minors, and then, you know, coming up here and proving yourself? Is that harder to grow, or do you think some guys can, like, you know, they're so confident that like it's good to go right away?
I think I think it kind of just depends on the player. Sometimes you can kind of see who's like that and who's not. I think it feels like nowadays guys that are coming up are just more confident naturally. I feel like younger players just are and kind of have that arrogance to them, and sometimes I don't love it, but I think it helps on the ice for sure. I mean, I feel like when I was younger, I never had that swagger about my game. Before maybe like 2 years ago or so, I felt like I just didn't think that like the puck was as good on my stick as it was on somebody else's, and I didn't try to hold on to pucks, and I gave it to other people and didn't really want that responsibility. And I feel like the last couple of years, I've really started to like grow my game with the puck, and that's just helped me with my confidence, knowing that the puck is as good on my stick as it is as anyone else's, and I feel like that just continues to grow.
I think we see that a lot with young players. Even like we saw it early on with Connor Bedard sort of deferring to veterans with the puck. Is that something that just a lot of young players are just kind of prone to do? Maybe the mindset of I have to earn the chance to be the puck carrier, the puck controller, or the one who takes charge offensively.
Yeah, I think kind of like I said, like some players definitely don't even think about that, which I think is crazy. But when you get to the NHL, and when I first got here, Kane and Taves were still on the team. So I'm looking at these two Hall of Famer legends that are on my team, won Stanley Cups. Like if I have the puck on my stick, I'm going to pass it to them no matter what. And I feel like even if it's not them, you're looking at already established NHL players that you kind of deem as like better than yourself just because you just got there and you're a younger guy. And some players are able to kind of overlook that, which, all the credit to them. I think there are players that can do that. Like Cale Makar steps in the NHL and just has all the confidence in the world. Like he's already, one of the best defensemen there is. So he obviously overlooks that rule of mine. But I do think a lot of players are like that, where you just kind of get nervous and you don't really want to mess things up, and it's better off passing to somebody who is already like an established NHL player than keeping it yourself.
You mentioned gaining confidence with the puck on your stick as you play more. Has that changed a little bit this year? Like last year you were with Seth most of the season, and we all know his offensive ability, but this year you've been with Connor, who's more of the stay-at-home classic type defenseman. Has that kind of helped you with that aspect of your game?
For sure. I think he's a great, like you said, defense first kind of defenseman. Almost like myself, I feel I'm not going to do anything crazy with the puck if I know it's going to cause something, on a chance against or whatever. But he's been great so far this year. I feel like we've had good chemistry, and he definitely allows me to jump up in the play and kind of push my offensive abilities, and that's an area of my game I want to explore and improve. So he's been wonderful, and he's a great person to look up to.
And with Seth now unfortunately out for an extended period of time here, does that kind of give you like, okay, now's my chance to we're not expecting Cale Makar type moments out there, but top power play now, and the team needs a little more from the back end. Does that kind of give you that boost to go ahead and try some more? Yeah,
definitely. I think it's a good opportunity for me to kind of take advantage of the scenario that I'm in. And obviously we miss Jonesy being out there, and it sucks, but no one's gonna feel bad for us. I think somebody's got to step up, and I like to think of myself as the next guy in line here to kind of push the envelope offensively and really try to contribute offensively and explore that part of my game. I just think we need, a little bit. Obviously, we've been struggling to score goals lately, so it's going to be jumping up in the play or maybe trying to hold on to pucks in the O-zone blue line, like little things like that. So I think, if I can step up and some of the other guys, some of the other defensemen, then, we should be good.
It's unfortunate that Seth's injury happened at all, but it does, silver lining, coincide with Alec Martinez coming back into the lineup. One of the many veterans that the team brought in this offseason. What have you taken from him? He's been injured on and off, but what have you taken from him being part of the group this year?
Yeah, Marty's a huge part of the group. He's one of my favorite teammates that we have this year. He's such a good role model for the young guys to look up to, and he's had so much success. I feel like you can kind of take away a lot of his daily habits, whether it's getting to the gym and stretching before or after practice, like those little things. That he's just, you hear the cliche of he's a pro's pro. Like he kind of treats the game like it's his job and does all the right things. So he's been great. Yeah, it's nice to have him back in the lineup. I feel like he just provides that kind of steadying presence for us on the defensive end, and especially in the locker room. He's one of the more vocal guys and one of the guys that people look up to.
Yeah, I mean, you and Connor Murphy have been here with the organization at least for a long time, and getting to play with Taves and Kane, and then they're gone. Then you have a tough couple years in a row. Now this summer they bring in all these vets. How is while the results haven't changed much from last year so far, how is it having those guys around to kind of, maybe help you through a losing streak or make it so it's doesn't seem so catastrophic to the young players?
Yeah, I think it is kind of that like stabilizing presence. Like I said before, I think when you are losing, it's easy to get down on yourself, easy for the team to get down on everybody and kind of just have that negative mindset coming into the rink every day. But it seems like, from what I've learned from the older guys, is that it happens to everybody at one point or another, every team. So you kind of have to figure out ways to get to the rink and have that positivity and energy and bring that every single day, because you're just going to be caught in an endless loop if you kind of come in and have that bad mindset and kind of feel bad about what's going on or those types of things. So for us to bring in guys like Pat Maroon, Martinez, Brody, it's cool for me and for all the younger guys, I'm sure, as well, to kind of look up to.
You've been kind of like the success story as far as like extra time in Rockford developing. You're kind of like the example used when we talk about like guys like Frank Nazar having to go down there and play extended period of time. Now that you're 2 years removed from that experience, and you can look back on it, like how helpful was that season in Rockford to get you to where you are today?
I loved it. I think it's never easy to get sent down to the AHL, and everybody talks badly about it, especially when you're a young guy. Like, you don't want to be the guy who goes down to the AHL. You want to come from college and you want to stick with the NHL and play right away. And you see guys do it. Like, some of my buddies did it. And when you see that, you kind of feel bad for yourself when you do get sent down and you're like, oh, I'm not as good as them or whatever. But I think once you get over that hump, those initial first couple of weeks where you're down on yourself, you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel and say, hey, like, I might as well make the most of my situation. And that's kind of what I did. I felt like when I was down there, I never even thought about like getting called up. I was just like, this is my team. Like, this is what I'm doing the rest of the year. And I'm just going to try to play as best as I can. And I luckily had support from Anders, the head coach down there, and the GMs, and kind of had the green light to try things and push myself with the puck. And I feel like I was able to get some power play time down there, which definitely helped my confidence and kind of just getting those puck touches for the offensive side of the game.
Is it different? Like, you hear the buzz term, go down there, work on your game a lot when it's talked about. Like, what's different at that level? Is like the practice is different? Is there more video? Is it just because there's less stress about wins and losses and more on personal like development? Like, how does it differ day to day down there?
I would say, I think it's definitely like it's definitely less stressful just with, the eyes that you have on you, the pressure. I feel like once you get to the NHL, you kind of realize it's totally different with how many people are watching the games, how many people are critiquing your game. And when you're down there, you only play like 10 less games. I think it is like 72, but it feels like quite a bit less. Like, I remember just having a Friday, Saturday back-to-back, which I was used to in college, and then you don't play till Thursday. So you have like 4 days to kind of just like either relax or work on your game. Like, when you're at the rink, there's skills time for like 20 minutes before practice, and there's like a lot more skills coaches and kind of time for that. Individual video, team video, like, definitely does feel a little bit more like a developmental league, especially now with how many prospects they have down there. I'm sure they're doing quite a bit of stuff to kind of help those guys out. But I loved it. I feel like there were certain things where you play Friday, Saturday, you take away, your coaches are telling you little things you need to work on, and then you go and work on that in the skills time that they give you, which is really nice. I feel like here it's a little bit more like you come and you perform, and there's definitely time to work on your game and in practice, but you just play so much, and it's kind of a rigorous schedule that you are pretty tired when you do get those days where it's just practice. Like, you don't know if it's worth it to stay out an extra 30, or, you know, you might tire yourself out. Like, you kind of have to learn to balance your energy and like your play.
Is that part of that, like learning the professional game, and you know kind of what you mentioned with like Alec Martinez, like kind of like showing that example of like when you have that like downtime, like how to take care of your body, like how to, you know, time manage things like that. Like, is that something that is maybe a little understated when you get to this level?
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like last year was pretty difficult for me, just learning how to balance that all out throughout like the course of the season, especially once you get into like January, February, March, April. Like, it just kind of seems like, well, like we still got 3 months left or whatever it is, and it can get pretty tiring. I mean, there's stretches where you're on the road. Luckily we're kind of done with our long road trips, but we just had a 9-day at the start of the season, and then we came home for a week and then another 9-day road trip. So yeah, you kind of have to be smart about how you use your energy and what you do with your days off. Maybe it's, you know, going to the gym and getting a stretch or doing some body work, but yeah, kind of learning from what guys do, like Alec Martinez and those types of players. You see what is able to keep you in the league for so long and keep you at your, you know, feeling your best.
If you're just joining us, that's Alex Vlasic. Do us a favor and smash the like button for us. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page as well. And if you're listening on the podcast, follow and subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So you mentioned the road trips, and it has been a kind of a tough start with you guys going west and then home and then west again. But with so many new guys on the team this year, was that beneficial in terms of team bonding, getting to know each other, that sort of thing?
Yeah, the first road trip we had was awesome. It was when we headed to Calgary. We were able to go to, I don't know if it was Banff. I think it was, I'm actually wearing the hat right now from the golf course we went to, but
You can flip it around.
we were able, yeah, my hair's a little messed up, but we'll see.
There you go.
Stewart Creek.
There you go.
So that was a lot of fun.
Fans.
Yeah, just being able to kind of like bond with those guys. I feel like that was a good stepping stone, especially like I still do feel like we were talking about before, when you see like respected older NHL players, you don't know how to approach them sometimes. I feel like I try to stay pretty low key until I build a relationship up with like a guy like Pat Maroon or you know, Tyler Bertuzzi. Like, you never know. You don't want to step on anyone's toes too early in the season, so you gotta make sure you're just kind of staying pretty level-headed with them. But yeah, they're great guys. I feel like it was a good opportunity for all of us to get out there and have some fun away from the rink, and especially, yeah, when, you know, things aren't going our way, it's nice to kind of have that positivity and kind of get your mind somewhere else for a little bit.
Pat Maroon's an intimidating individual. That's a large man, not eye to eye with you, but pretty close.
Very.
I mean, I remember the first couple of days in the locker room, it was like, we'll talk to him in a week.
Yeah.
Let's let him get used to seeing us.
The Stanfield shirt also.
That was our icebreaker
sets
with
the
him.
mood, yeah.
Because he seems to be the last guy in the league wearing that blue
Yeah,
Stanfield.
I think he's got a couple of them. He must have like the manufacturer just making them for like him specifically.
That's cool. Want to talk to you about the actual Winter Classic coming up in January. I know the Hawks have played many of these, but you have not. It's got to be something you're looking forward to.
Yeah. I think it'll, weather permitting, I'm hoping it'll be a nice crisp day. But yeah, I think everybody's excited. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I feel like, especially for my family being able to go to that, and all my buddies. Hopefully some of them will be able to go. But it's such a cool experience. I feel like even just watching it on TV when I was growing up, like being able to have those memories, I'm hoping that I can kind of do the same for, you know, some young kids watching out there.
Been on Wrigley Field before for the Hawks. Is it having that experience, like actually being on the field before, like kind of take away the like shock, I guess, of the game being at Wrigley, like a historic building, things like that? Like, you've kind of seen it from that perspective?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, honestly, probably not. Like, I've only been there, I don't know, maybe like 10 times or so. I'm not a huge guy who loves going to like baseball games. I think sometimes it gets a little too like hot for me. I kind of get it's better now with how they like limited the clock in between pitches, pitch count or whatever it's called. But that's definitely a nice little ad, because I feel like I would always just like anytime we go with our family, I'd complain and be like, when we go home now, it'd be like the 6th inning. And my sister was a huge baseball fan, so she'd be like pissed at me. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it won't take away too much shock. I think it'll just be cool to see how big of a stadium it is. I feel like when you watch it on TV, you realize how small the rink is in comparison to the baseball field, and how big of a stadium that is. So it'll be really cool once you step on the ice.
What are the biggest challenges you expect in terms of actually playing in a game like that?
I think it all just comes down to like the conditions of like the ice and the weather. Honestly, I think like it's a cool game, and there'll definitely be some pressure, more so probably than a normal game. Obviously, you're gonna have more eyes on you, but I think it just comes down to like how the ice is gonna be, or how the whole setup is with like if it's snowing or if it's too cold, all that stuff.
Have you played in an outdoor game before? I don't know if Boston had any or.
No, I never at BU. I played in one when I played here at the Mission actually. We played over like Rosemont, where there's like that like high sky or whatever, like the indoor.
Yeah.
Like right off the highway. And we played out there, and I remember it being freezing. It was like 10 degrees. And I got off the ice after the game, and like I literally was like crying because of how cold my hands were. Like I put like those like hot packs, in my hands and stuff, and I like couldn't even like feel, and it took me like 30 minutes to get feeling back.
Well,
I think it all
not like that
sounds
again.
great. It sounds great, and then it's the same as a fan. I went to the first Winter Classic. I was so excited, and like midway through the second, I've never been this cold in my life. It is that's different.
Well, and the one that they had at Soldier Field in 2014.
Oh my God,
it's a snowstorm, and so people are sitting in the stands becoming like snowmen and stuff out there. Like, it's I mean the weather is going to be an interesting thing, but yeah, it'll be I assume it'll be cold enough, and make sure you keep your hands warm this time. But
yeah, luckily for the players, at least we were like moving and stuff, so you're not like thinking about it. But yeah, if you're a fan out there, like if it's a cold night, you're gonna be battling.
What's ideal? If you could just choose the weather for the Winter Classic, what would you
like
go
40
with?
degrees probably.
Yeah. Cold enough to keep the ice frozen, but
yeah, you definitely want the ice to be good, but you don't want to be like freezing your hands off.
The controlled environment of an NHL arena is taken for granted until
it is
until you go outside.
I know. Yeah.
What's the mood been around the team lately? We get to see you guys practice, and we get a little time in the dressing room with you guys afterwards. And today, heard a lot of guys laughing and shouting, and seemed like everything seems okay. Are the vibes all right now?
Yeah, vibes are good. I mean, I think, like I said earlier, it's tough. Like right now, obviously on the ice, we're struggling, and not being able to score has been kind of the name of the game for us. But once you kind of step outside of the game, you kind of have to appreciate like just every day and coming to practice and having that atmosphere that's like enjoyable to be in the locker room. I feel like if like last year, it kind of got down to the dog days where we'd be losing how many in a row. I don't know. I think there was that road streak that we almost broke, or we did break, and just vibes. You come into practice and everybody's just kind of hanging their head and like not really enjoying every single day. And I feel like this year, like I said, with the older guys, they kind of do bring that enthusiasm and intensity to practices. And obviously we're not like forgetting about the losses. It's something that we want to keep in mind, but I do think that when you get too down on losing so many games, you can just kind of bring that to practice, and then that's obviously not going to do anybody any favors.
I think everyone over the last few years understands the plan. We know what a rebuild is, and the reality of that is more losses than wins. But I think sometimes as we were doing our post-game shows, we kind of worry about the long-term effects of that on the players, where I don't know if you watch Shorzy or whatever, but they always say he doesn't hate to lose, and is losing something you can get used to. And I look at someone like you and look like someone like Connor, who is basically won, if they're not winning championships, or dominating every day, and then they come up and find the struggle for the first time. How do you keep it positive personally?
Yeah, I think when I first got to the Hawks, I mean, they were still kind of struggling, but at least it was like 50-50. And then, yeah, it's tough. I feel like last year was the first year I got hit with that, where I've never really been on like a losing team in my life. I feel like I've always been on teams where even if we're not great, we're at like 500 or whatever, or just above. So at least you're kind of going back and forth. But yeah, last year was the first year where I had to deal with that adversity of just like losing game after game. And No, I don't think you get used to it. I think like as a competitive athlete, you have that mindset of I want to win and I want to be the best at this sport that I can be, or better than anybody else. Like I feel like some people probably are different than others, but I feel like for me throughout my life, like if I do something, I'm doing it because I want to be the best and I'm not going to stop until I am. And I feel like Bedsy has that kind of same mentality where he's not going to get used to losing. He's going to be pissed off or just kind of have that anger built up. And I mean, yeah, the frustration definitely does kind of boil over. I feel like I'm more frustrated this year than I was last year because I'm more comfortable now. I feel like I'm more established. And last year it was like, okay, I'm happy to be here kind of thing, where I'm in the NHL and now I'm here and like, I'm pissed off if like I want to win. Like I'm not here to just be here and like be complacent. I want to win and I want to keep pushing as a team. So for me, if anything, I feel like it just kind of just makes me more pissed off and just makes me want to get to the point where we can start winning.
Is there something that can be said to like the frustrations and the offense kind of lacking this year? Do you guys feel like there's a sense of like trying to do too much all in one game, like to try and flip the season around in one game, and trying to maybe push a little too hard? I know the term is like gripping the stick too hard. Is there a little bit of that going on where like the frustrations feel like maybe they've stacked up and it's like hard to kind of relax and just kind of play the game like you're thinking about it so much?
I know what you mean. I feel like there are games where we get into situations where we have like a 1-0 lead or something and someone makes a mistake and you kind of feel that the tensions rise on the bench and everyone freaks out a little bit and people are getting rattled. And I think that's just because we don't score. But it's tough when you don't score. You can't expect to just like let up 1 goal or 0 goals every single game. It's such a tough league and every team has such good offense that you're gonna make a mistake and somebody's gonna score. I feel like even the best teams in the league are letting up 2 or 3 goals, but they're able to score 4 or 5. Like I think that's the thing that we kind of struggle with, is where it'll be a close game, we make a mistake, and the frustration does kind of set in, and people do grip the stick a little bit because we're close to winning a game here, like nobody messed it up, and then everybody's just trying to play safe and scrambling a little bit. But yeah, there is a little bit of that. I think that happens with teams that like don't win a lot, is when you have that lead in the third period, everybody kind of tenses up a little bit and plays differently than we've been playing the whole game.
One of the big topics of discussion on our show we've had for the last couple of weeks has been the inconsistency of the lines. It seems every game there's tinkering here, or today full changes. How does that affect you guys on the back end? I mean, you've pretty much had the same guy most of the season, but does that affect you guys out there when you've got different lines and kind of learning tendencies as well?
Yeah, sometimes I think for me now, I know, like you said, tendencies of certain players, and you kind of pick that up, and who's going to tend to be where and who's going to be thinking this way. Obviously with like Dickey's line, I feel like he's had I guess he's now first line with Beds. Yeah, so that's a little screwed up, but I think with him out there being that center, like he's just so responsible defensively. So where he's going to be in the D zone, where he's going to be in the O zone and covering for you, and Andy as well. And so that it's nice when you're out there with that line, because I feel like they kind of have that role like pinned in pretty well. But yeah, when the lines are jumbled up a little bit, I think sometimes it takes some time to figure out, what's this line thinking here. But I think for the most part, you realize that once you kind of see who's put together, and if it's Reichs, Kershey, and Bedsy, for example, it's going to be a high flying, like they're going to be looking to play in the O zone. They're going to be looking to transition quick. So you kind of have to expect that out of them, and they do a good job of it. So yeah, it's just kind of recognizing who you're out there with and what they are, what they're good at.
All right, we got to hit the break zone for the first time. Do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the YouTube page. We'll get to your super chats if we've got some queued up. There's also some other good fan questions we're going to get to as well, but a lot more with Alex Vlasic coming up next on CHGO Blackhawks.
And if you're sitting there watching us and look down from your computer screen, or you're just listening to us while you're cleaning your house, and you look down at your floors and you go, oh my gosh, I need some new floors. Well, do it with our friends over at Empire. At Empire today, you get shop-at-home convenience, the right products for your needs, and quick and professional installation. all with a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have copycats, but Empire cannot be beaten on quality, service, or speed. So competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply will not carry. Now, Empire is not going to promise the lowest of prices, because anyone who is doing that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. With Empire, you have the virtual floor designer, which is really cool. All you got to do is snap a picture of the room or the space that you want new floors in, and you can go through all the different options that they have to see how those new floors are going to look in your room. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when you use the promo code CHGO at checkout. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/CHGO for more details.
And if you're looking to begin your cannabis journey or continue it, the best place to do it is at Sunnyside, your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. I was there last night in River North for a friend.
Sure.
Got great stuff. It's your one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Check out their new limited-time offer, Island Vibes from Good News. That's available in disposable vapes, 510 carts, and live resin gummies. It's good stuff. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois MedCard holders. I know we had a super chat we wanted to get to from Zats. $3 says,
Gordon
"You
Bombay.
are that guy, Vlas." I don't know what he's referring to. Sounds like a compliment.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll take it.
I believe that's a compliment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had a couple from Pace Setter that I thought were pretty good. We got to get to the elephant in the room, as your name is Vlasic. Everybody calls you Pickles. Do you actually like pickles? Do you like the nickname? What's your favorite pickle? I don't know. Pickle questions.
Yeah,
Talk
I
about
do.
pickles.
I do like pickles. Not like crazy though. Like I feel like not as much as some people. The only pickle I'll enjoy with like a side or something is like bread and butter. I think that's my
Solid.
That's your bread and
go-to,
butter?
But I never get them on like never get them on a burger. I don't know. Actually, only at ALLCITY. Ever been there?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
This place is unreal.
Yeah, well, we've been there.
Do you
Thanks for asking. Thanks for pretending you didn't know that we've been to Auschwitz.
Yeah, I go there in the
You mean
summer,
like
once a
today
week.
or?
I've been to Small Cheval. Still pretty good. Yeah. Well, once you get
It's healthier.
Once you get through the 3-hour line, you can get in there and get your food. You come from a family that's pretty ingrained in hockey. Your older sister played at high levels. You have a cousin, Mark Edouard, that has played a long time. Sharks rival of the Blackhawks back in the day. Growing up in that era of the Blackhawks, not necessarily a Blackhawks fan. How was that as a kid? Because it felt like in that like 08, 09, 2010 range, a new generation of Blackhawks fans and young fans grew. How was that when you were younger?
Yeah, I feel like I wish I was a Hawks fan back then, just because it was so fun for everybody. I feel like all my buddies and stuff. But good on me for not being, a fair weather fan and sticking with my
Staying true to
Sharks
it,
because of
yeah.
my cousin. But yeah, it was tough being a Sharks fan. I feel like they were kind of good at the time as well, but could just never really figure it out. But yeah, the Hawks were so good. I remember kind of going back and forth between some of my teammates when I was younger, and they would chirp me about being a Sharks fan and stuff, and I would always try to root for them. But yeah, they were just so dominant. I feel like it was such a good time to be a Hawks fan.
I can't believe that Sharks team never won a cup.
I know.
With all the well, it's the Hawks' fault. You blame them,
Yeah.
but they had such
Partially.
talent on that team for so long. And I don't know if you saw Jeremy Roenick's Hall of Fame speech, but he said that Joe Thornton is the second greatest playmaker of all time after Gretzky. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I do remember watching him play, and like, yeah, when they had all those guys, like they were just stacked, and it seemed like if it was like him, he would either get like a nasty assist or something, or Pavelski would have a tip. Like it felt like every game, like those two guys were just getting points. when Marlowe was there too. Yeah, they were so good watching them play. I wish I was older to watch them now, honestly, because I feel like when you're younger, you're not really like registering like what they're actually doing. It's more like, oh wow, they're scoring and stuff. But just to appreciate, the little like nuances of the game, I feel like Thornton was so good at just seeing the ice, and like Roenick said, like that playmaking ability was incredible.
Are there guys now when you watch games that you kind of like look at differently than maybe when you a little bit younger? Like there's still some older guys like Ovechkin and Crosby, like guys that are still playing still at a high level that you watch differently now that were playing when you were younger.
Yeah, I feel like Crosby's one where just playing against him last year, like he was honestly one of the toughest players that I played against all of last year to play against. Like he just thinks the game like way faster than everybody else. Like still, like he's never gonna lose that. Where before he gets the puck, he knows where it's going, who's open, and what his options are. And then he's got the skill to go with it. But like him and Kucherov, I feel like you really appreciate his playmaking ability. Just it's like for him, the game is just slower than everybody else. I think there was like a quote from Datsuk the other day saying he said that Kucherov's playmaking ability is like the best he's ever seen, coming from Datsuk, which is pretty crazy. But there are guys out there like McDavid. I feel like you can't even really like put him in the conversation just because he's like a separate category. But some of those guys who not necessarily like the fastest or like known for their speed, like that's where it's impressive where they're able to just generate so much offense from like how smart they are.
When you play against McDavid, is there just sort of a thought of, all right, he's going to get his, let's just try to stop everybody else? Because he feels almost inevitable. I remember watching that. I know the Hawks ended up winning that COVID playoff series against the Oilers, but every time he was on the ice, it felt like there were going to be 2 or 3 prime scoring chances no matter what you did against him. How do you even approach a game with a guy like that?
Yeah, I feel like how I kind of picture it, kind of like what you said, I guess, but obviously like you want to shut him down. You want to be the guy to kill the play. And for me, it's like he's got his plan A in mind when he has the puck. He's got what he wants to do. But as long as you can kind of shut that down and then like force him to make something else happen, like he'll make it happen still. But as long as it's not like his priority play, like the number one play he was thinking of, like that's last year. There was a couple times where, I mean, he still made some great plays. Like I force him wide and then he like spinner ammos, throws it in front of the net. Like something where it's more of like a hope play as opposed to like him actually burning me wide. Like sometimes I'll try to take away what's, the biggest threat and then maybe let him make a play that's could still be a threat. Obviously he's got so much in his tool bag, but probably not as dangerous as the one that I was attempting to take away.
Well, but that's what you're talking about, is thinking of the game at a high level as opposed to, all right, just back up, and it's too late and he's gone. You're doing the, it's like the meme of the math floating in the air in front of Zach Galifianakis as you're calculating how to defend McDavid. I think that stuff is fascinating, and obviously as you gain experience and experience those moments in games where, okay, I remember my rookie year, I was in the same exact situation and this happened. So if it happens again, boom, I'm ready for it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with him and McKinnon, like those good players, they want to try to get the middle of the ice. So for me, it's like I'm going to try to do my best to force him wide. Maybe he curls up and hits somebody late, but at least I'm not letting him get to like the dangerous parts of the D zone.
Would you say he's the hardest guy to defend in the league, or is there someone else that?
Yeah, by far. I think him, McKinnon, those are the two where you're just, you're hoping everybody else has their guy.
Just hold on. Hold on for dear life. Well, I mean, we're all hoping that Connor gets to that point someday, and we've certainly seen flashes of it. I know he's been a big story lately because the goal production hasn't been there, and he returned home yesterday. It seemed like he's, in the right headspace too right now with probably, I mean, again, struggling for probably the first time in his life.
Yeah, I think it's good for him to go through it and experience it early. I mean, he's so well spoken and so mature for his age where, he's taking, I saw an interview with him, he's taking accountability for, our lack of offense and stuff like that, which, I mean, it's obviously appreciated, but I don't think he can really put all that blame on himself and carry that much on his shoulders. It's a whole team effort, but I mean, I think he's been having some good chances, and it's important for him, like I said, to learn to not have success, but to also learn like what it takes to, when you're not having success, maybe you got to, stick to a simpler game plan until things start going your way. Maybe you're chipping pucks in, or maybe you're, taking some accountability somewhere else. So I think he's kind of learning all that and figuring that out, and it's cool to see.
Another, we talked earlier about your time in Rockford and how it helped. And another young defenseman who's kind of taken a similar jump is Wyche Kaiser and the strides he's made, even within this season already. What have you seen out of him this season compared to where he was at the beginning of last year?
Yeah, I think it was cool. I feel like me going through that Rockford experience, then seeing him, make the jump full time this year, I was able to kind of sit back and see him in the same shoes that I was in at that time and be like, all right, this is your time to kind of show him what you're made of. And I feel like he did exactly that. Obviously, he had a little, tough go in the training camp. He wasn't able to play any games, I don't think, but he came back and he was looking great. He's a big part of our D-core. He's such a good skater and really smart defensively. So, I feel like he's continued to gain confidence in his skating and, using those feet to kind of get the net. I feel like he's done a great job of that recently, is just beating that F1 by himself and creating those open lanes to kind of hit the forwards on those breakouts. So he's been great so far, and he's a really good guy, and just feels like he's kind of starting to come into his own.
He seems like a guy with a lot of confidence, carries himself, head up. And even I thought last year too, to see him when he was with the team, just kind of has like a swag. Not a cockiness or an arrogance, but a little bit of a swagger to him.
100%. Yeah, it's not in a bad way at all. I think he's just a very confident guy, confident in himself, and that's important. You kind of need that. So yeah, I think that helps him not really worry about making mistakes and kind of helps him take that next jump.
You went through it yourself. You've seen it, be a success story with Kaiser. Guys like Ethan Del Mastro and Artem Levchinov and Korchinski and all these defensemen, young defensemen, getting professional experience at 18, 19 years old. Do you look at kind of like where you were in your game as an 18, 19-year-old, thinking like, okay, if I was playing professionally, how would I have stacked up? How would I have processed that, and then trying to relay that to them at all? Like, have you had conversations with some of those guys about taking the steps and going through that development phase and working on things in Rockford and kind of how to handle that?
Yeah, it's actually funny. I feel like I was thinking about this morning, thinking about Korch and Levchinov, and just exactly how I would have been at 18, 19 years old, playing pro hockey. And Korch last year was 19, playing full year in the NHL. That's crazy to think. My sophomore year of college, I was a pretty solid player, nothing crazy. So to be able to imagine myself playing in the NHL is beyond me, and credit to him for doing that. But yeah, I think it's tough to kind of relay those messages to them. I don't want to come across as being the guy. I still feel like a young player, and I don't want to I don't want to be the super vet that's a hero and be into the younger guys oh, stick with it, you'll find that kind of thing. Just with I'm a couple years older than them, so for me it feels like if I was 30 or something, I'd for sure go up to them and say stuff like that. But I don't know how to approach that. Maybe I got to figure out a better way. But yeah, I think they know that. I think especially with how many young prospects there are down there now, everybody's in it together, and it's not a bad thing that they're in the AHL. It's just for their own benefit and for the development of their game.
Are you thinking about the Four Nations at all? Has that even been on your radar about making Team USA for the tournament?
I've had a couple questions by some reporters asking me about it, but I don't know. I feel like for me, it's in the back of my mind right now. I want to just focus on what I'm doing day to day and kind of winning. And I feel like if we start to progress as a team and develop hopefully some more wins and some more confidence as a group, then I'll start to play a little bit better, and then maybe that'll bleed into potentially getting considered. But I'd be honored to. I would love to, absolutely. But it's not something that I'm playing for right now. I think it's something that I kind of have to put to the side for what we're doing right now.
Well, look, the fact that you are so young in your career, that you're already being considered as one of potentially the top 6 American defensemen, that's quite a thing, and it's legit. We talk about it all the time. And if you don't make it this time, for sure next time or for the Olympics or whatever, you should be there. So just being considered, I would think, would be a point of pride for you.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I feel like I've the last couple of years or so, or even just this past year, being invited to the World Championships was super cool for me and a great opportunity. I didn't think I'd be considered to get the invite. And when I did, it was I was getting spoken to right around the middle of the year, like January almost. And I didn't think I was, turning heads or anything like that, but I guess I was. And I was just kind of shocked, especially with the roster that they had going over there, the group that they had going. It wasn't just, a gimme. It felt like I kind of earned it. And that was the first thing for me where I was like, damn, like, good for me and credit to me on that one. So yeah, that was a great experience too. I had a lot of fun over there.
We've got every game, we have a segment called 4-star of the game. So we go through the 3 stars and then we ask the fans to pick the 4-star, and more often than not, it's you or the goalie. But we say all the time, like, you've gotten to the point already where you having a good game is the norm. It's not even something that, hey, how do you think Vlasic's going to play tonight? That's already over here, and the presumed good game from Alex Vlasic is an 82-game thing already in our minds and the minds of a lot of fans. So I know we don't quite matter as much as scouts and GMs and coaches and all that stuff, but people are seeing it. Like, you're getting attention, and as you said, as the team gets better, that's going to come. So we want to thank you for doing this. Before we let you go, we should let everybody know this is not the only time Alex is going to be here. We're going to do this several times this year, much like we did with Nick Foligno last year. So maybe next year, this time, we'll see you on Hockey Night in Canada. They showed Nick's segment with us from last year.
Yeah.
Talking about how Connor doesn't know anything about anything. Which was really great after a loss in Vancouver.
Yeah,
that was just what Connor wanted to hear about.
If he didn't like us already, I'm sure he's thrilled right now.
Yes. And Greg said today is the 2-year anniversary? 1-year anniversary of
2 years.
Hossa?
Marion Hossa.
2 years ago, Marion Hossa was in that chair right there. So, yeah, he left his water bottle behind, so we're trying to clone him. We're working on it. The first couple baby Hossas had tails, so back to the drawing board. But we're working on it. So, Alex, thanks for doing this, and we'll look forward to a bunch more visits as the year goes on.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right, man. Thank you. That's Alex Vlasic on CHGO Blackhawks.
Now here's Greg to talk about Chevy.
Yes. Once we get the break zone there. All right. Anyway, with the Black Friday sales event going on all month long at Ray Chevrolet, you can score doorbuster deals on your next vehicle without door-busting stress. Head in today to shop their huge selection of Chevy models with special Black Friday prices. Right now, take up to $3,200 all the way up to $13,000 off MSRP on most new Chevy models, or shop over 125 of their vehicles priced under $20,000. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories. Visit our partner this November at their location on Route 12 in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. And if you've heard of Ray Chevrolet, then you've also heard of Ray's Price Promise. They're guaranteed to make your next vehicle more affordable than ever with no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees ever. That means the incredible prices we're talking about right now, you could expect to see the very same when you shop Ray Chevy in-store or online. Shop the Black Friday sales event all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
Mario.
Yes.
Did you know, do you recall, do you remember that ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient?
No, I don't remember that.
Well, yes,
me
Mario.
more.
ComEd and their energy efficiency program can help find up to 35% in energy savings.
Holy jumping.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I know.
Right here.
What do businesses have to do that?
They should sign up for a free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
Free?
Mhm.
Wow. Why aren't more businesses doing that, Jay?
Perhaps they have forgotten the web address.
Is the web address, I'm reading it on our screen here. That's ComEd.com/biz, right? ComEd.com/biz, B-I-Z.
Yes, that's the one.
Wonderful.
ComEd.com.
I will put that
Yeah.
in my memory bank up here.
No, you won't.
I
Terms
probably
and
won't.
conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customers' energy usage and rate, and the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law. All right.
I have a
Well, we've got a lot to do.
I have a quick question to kind of pull
Yes.
the curtain back. Do we kind of get these mics off if they're leaving?
We get free lavaliers. We got what, 11 minutes? They can hang out.
Okay.
They're good.
Good.
I think we
Yeah.
have to sign our lives away anyway.
Yeah, we had to sign.
Yeah,
So
that's
We
we're
had to
good.
sign the paperwork. Yeah, we are. I don't even. You see it?
I don't know.
We're wearing a wire.
Keep it kayfabe. Keep it kayfabe.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. Okay. Are we starting with Taylor Hall? Are we starting with the lines? Let's start with Taylor Hall.
Let's start with Taylor Hall.
So saw Taylor Hall go into. I'm not gonna play the whole video because it's kind of long. Do we have the 2-minute version?
We have Taylor Hall's comments up on our CHGO social media, Blackhawks social media accounts. It's also up on the YouTube page. We also have Luke's comments up there. But yeah, I think for time's sake, we can say that Taylor didn't have any warnings that he was going to get scratched on Saturday. He said that there was no communication about that, that he wasn't getting any extended conversations, any pointed video work, anything like that I think he would say comes before a scratching scenario.
Yeah. I have the quote here if we want it. Asked if he was surprised. He said, "Yeah, I was surprised. There hadn't been a lot of it was unexpected. I just didn't know that I was even close to being in that spot, really. If there were some conversations in the days leading up about my game, or if I was constantly being shown video, it would be one thing, but I was a bit surprised." Kind of goes on and said that he communicated that message, that he was a little bit unsatisfied with the messaging leading to the scratch, and that him and Luke talked and they're on the same page. Luke Richardson later, pointed the thumb at himself and said, "Hey, I should have been a little better about that."
Different players handle the process of being scratched, especially as a veteran like Taylor Hall. They handle it differently or would like to have it handled differently. So that's something that he said as a coach, he's got to learn about individual players.
I will say, as the interview with Hall went on, you could tell that he felt like he had said his piece and he had been heard. Mm-hmm. And I think by Luke Richardson coming out and saying, "Hey, on me, I need to be better about this with Taylor in the future," it does seem like it's water under the bridge. I thought Taylor Hall had a really good practice today. Luke Richardson thought so too. He's going to play tomorrow. So I think lesson learned. And I think this is something that with Luke still is a first-time head coach, and he's got to learn these sort of things. It's the first time he's really dealt with guys like this, though. Veterans of that stature.
Sure. I'm over this is his first coaching experience. This is year 3. He played over 1,400 games in the NHL. He was a assistant coach in the NHL. He was a head coach in the AHL. Like, this is not Jeremy Colleton, like, kind of learning how to be an NHL head guy. Like, this is a guy that's been around a lot of hockey. He's been behind a number of benches in the AHL and the NHL before. Like, I'll give it to him that, like, good to, like, own up to it. But, like, this is year 3. Like, I think we should be beyond the learning experiences of how to communicate with players with Luke Richardson. I think that's something that, like, a guy of his resume should be able to kind of understand that. And
yes, and I agree with you.
Go ahead.
And as a veteran of 1,400 NHL games and all the things you listed, Luke Richardson in his mind is probably like, if I'm playing like ass, I probably don't need to be told I'm playing like ass, and the coach doesn't need to tell me I'm sitting.
Sure.
I think Luke comes from that old school of, hey, like, there's an expectation, you're a professional, and you need to deliver at a professional level all the time. So I agree with you, because Luke is not coaching in the era in which he played. It is totally different.
Right. The
athlete's different. The game is different. The way players think is different. So I think I'm not using it as an excuse. I'm using it as maybe a reason as to why he thought it would be okay to do that, because Luke is as old school hockey as they come.
Yeah.
And I think he's done a decent job of trying to catch up to the new generation of player. But clearly this is an indication that there's more work to be done in that regard.
Yeah, I think over the first 2 years of him being here, especially last year, like, we heard a lot about, like, communicating with younger players, with Kevin Korchinski and Lucas Reichel and the struggles that they went through last year, how to communicate with those guys. And that's definitely, like, a big, important skill to have, especially as this team continues to grow and more young players are going to be here. But but I think across the board, it's got to be something that is a little bit less of like a surprise. Like I would like to have fewer surprises of like, wow, I didn't think that would happen with this team because of how many veterans there are here, and because of where Richardson is at in his coaching career. And that's why the line shuffling is so baffling this year, is because it's just like, we all talked about coming into this season how this is the most talent he's had. He's the most talent he's had to work with, and I get working matchups and everything and trying to get things going. And we talked about it on the last show about maybe you move Bedard out of center and off to the wing. But I think the overarching thing is, with all of these changes, is that how often it's happening. It feels like we've had a different lineup every game, which I think is actually probably true.
And I saw Dom Lecision, by the way, on Blue Sky this morning say that Bertuzzi, Bedard, and Teravainen have played together as a line for 40 seconds this year.
Yeah.
Like, there have been a lot of things tried, but not that.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest point is that, like, I know today he said like they're trying to get things to work, but you got to let things breathe. If you have a line combination that is okay, but doesn't like, jump off the page and have an amazing game, that doesn't mean you need to scrap it right away. Like, you got to let some things breathe. And that's why I'm still frustrated that like Foligno, Bedard, Teravainen hasn't been gone back to, because the first few games of the year, they were clicking. So I think my biggest thing is I just want to see some continuity. I want to see a couple guys a couple lines get some time to breathe. And you can't flip this season on its head in one shift or in one period. Like, let some of this breathe, because those guys, I gotta imagine that they actually do, as much as they may say to us and to the media that they don't think too much about it. I think there's got to be something to be said with like, all right, who am I playing with today? Like, if it's different every other day, like, that's got to be something that weighs on them.
Well, Alex kind of said it. I mean, basically said the continuity is important, and you do want lines to breathe and stick together, but not these. I'm good with these never. But here's what they were in practice today. Jason Dickinson centering Connor Bedard and Joey Anderson. Whoa. Nick Foligno centering Teuvo Teravainen and Philip Kurashev. Ryan Donato centering Taylor Hall and Ilya Mikheyev, and Reichel with Tyler Bertuzzi and Craig Smith. Pat Maroon was rotating in, so not sure he will be in the lineup tomorrow or not. Your D pairs were Vlasic and Murphy, Brody and Martinez, Kaiser and Allen. I hate that top line. I hate it. You are killing two effective lines in one punch. You're taking offense away from Bedard. You're taking defense away from Dickinson. I really, really, really don't like these lines at all.
No, I'm not a fan, but just to touch on the Taylor Hall stuff real quick, I'm glad that, like, when you listen to both of their statements, it seems like, okay, it's been discussed, it's over, they've moved on. Even Taylor Hall at the end of his talk today mentioned, like, okay, I know what I have to do better now, and now I'm going to work on that. So, just be careful you get the context of everything before you start screaming to the heavens who's wrong here. And a guy that's been in the league as long as Taylor Hall, a former MVP, shouldn't need a video session and a coach telling him he's not playing good. He should know when he's not playing.
I would think so. But see, my thing though was, and we talked about this after it happened, is we had guys on our radar to be scratched, and Taylor Hall was maybe not one of the top 5 names we thought of.
Right.
And again, they've got video analysis. They've got certain things they're looking for. Fine. They see things that we'll never see. But boy, on the list of guys that I thought could use a sit, Taylor Hall was not among
the
top.
No, Taylor Hall is not the biggest target to sit down, and especially for a team that you're trying to think like, hey, they need some offensive jump. Like, Taylor Hall's a guy that can provide that when he's on his game. But yeah, I mean, outside of 4 guys this year, I think everybody's on notice of like, hey, everyone needs to pick up their game collectively. So whether it's Hall or Bertuzzi or Brody or whoever, like, everyone should kind of be on their toes of like, if I'm not performing, I'm not going to be in the lineup.
All right, we got to take we're going to wrap up the televised portion of the show right now. We're going to keep going. if you're on YouTube or the podcast. So stick around, but want to remind everybody to become a diehard today at allchgo.com. You get a free shirt or hat upon sign up, 20% off all merch after that, 20% off all of our events, our takeovers, including our very sweet takeover coming up soon. So become a diehard, allchgo.com. Greg's Pigs and Puck published today, a little report on what's going on in Rockford, and it's a lot like watching the Blackhawks these days. So make sure you check that out, allchgo.com. Become a diehard. We would appreciate that. Anyway, back to the lines. Yeah.
The lines, yes. We talked about it after Saturday's game. You guys mentioned, well, why don't we just put Bedard on the wing with Dickinson? And I don't hate that idea, but I also said it also takes away your best defensive line. So we'll see how that works. Taking Bedard out of center, putting him on the wing, I don't think that's a terrible idea. Playing Jason Dickinson with Connor Bedard, I don't think that's the worst idea out there. Joey Anderson on that line, I'm not sure about that and how that's going to work, but I sort of see the thinking there, and it's kind of like when he put Reichel with Maroon and Smith. Everybody was like, well, how is he going to do anything offensively there? And that worked. Yeah. Because when he's on that line, he pretty much like go out there and just generate offense. Go out and do that. Play, we've got you covered on your own end. And that's the same thinking here. When they're in the defensive zone, there's not as much pressure now on Connor. So when you do have the puck, there's no, hey, don't pass it to Joey Anderson. No offense to Joey Anderson. Shoot the puck. So maybe that's more of like forcing his hand. Like, you're the best offensive option now, even though he should think that every game. Go ahead and do it. But like, tinkering here and there, changing a left winger on a line, every couple games, I could live with that. But this is just reeking of desperation. We got to do something here, which tells me there is definitely more pressure to start getting more results. So while Kyle Davison can say to Ben Pope, I haven't even thought about that, there could be an internally different discussion going on right now.
Of course it is.
So there's obviously some pressure here. I know this season was never about Stanley Cup playoffs and contending for a championship, but there's obviously some internal pressure to start winning more games and to just keep trying something different every game. To me, is a coach that is just desperate to get a win.
Well, he gave the vote of confidence before 5 straight games with 1 regulation goal. He also said at the end of the year last year, this can't happen again.
Right.
And the Hawks are once again in last place in the NHL. Yeah. And this is, as we've said, this is not a roster that is bad enough to be the worst team in the NHL. Absolutely not. This team's underachieving.
No, shouldn't be. And like, I think if we go out, if they go out tomorrow and lay a stinker against the Ducks and things look the same as they have in the last few games, I think at that point, you're cranking up the heat on this season and on this team. And I think with moving Bedard to the wing, you take things off his plate. Don't worry about faceoffs. Don't worry about playing a 200-foot game. Worry about getting your offense going. Like, I know he's still the top point producer on the team. He's still the biggest threat out there, but he hasn't had the goals going in. I think he just needs the ability to just kind of clear some things out of his brain and just focus on be offensive threat, be a shooter, and get that going, because this team is playing well structurally defensively. Like they're getting great goaltending. Team defense is not a problem. It's the offense, and the offense goes as Bedard does. So if you get him going, that's at least one thing on the checklist that you can say, okay, Bedard's moving the offense now a little bit. Now we can work on getting other guys going and you go from there.
I just think too there needs to be a focus to not make Bedard something he's not. He is closer to Patrick Kane than Jonathan Toews. Right?
Much closer.
Like, he's not. You're not going to make him Joe Sakic or Patrice Bergeron. It's just not going to happen. So just let it be. Right. Let him be one-dimensional, because that one dimension is pretty damn good. And if that one dimension gets going for the Hawks, they're probably winning, even at this point, 3-4 more games. If he's got 7 goals instead of 3, That
helps.
I mean, as you said after, I think it was Greg, after the last game, this team goes as Bedard goes, and they need him to go. And I don't know if Jason Dickinson and Joey Anderson are going to get him going. We'll see.
I can't wait for Joey Anderson to have a hat trick tomorrow.
That would
going to
be
wonderful.
amazing.
Pick him for Who's Your Hawk. I dare you.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
I don't think it matters anyway.
Because none of us are picking Bedard. We've already agreed to that. And
no,
and,
another half a point.
and Luke made that decision a lot easier for us.
Yeah.
No doubt. All right, we're going to be back tomorrow, post-game show. By the way, if you got tickets, tomorrow is Native American Heritage Night. Get there early. The festivities in the atrium are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a traditional Native American show before the game, and there's dancing and music and everything. It is my favorite night of the year. So highly encourage people to get out to the UC early tomorrow if you've got tickets and check that out. Native American Heritage Night is one of my favorite events of the year. And they do a really, really great job. So go for that, and then stay for Joey Anderson on the first line.
Whoa.
Should be fun.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you in the post game tomorrow. Do us a favor. If you have not hit that like button on your way out, do it. We'll talk to you at, 9:45-ish, 10 o'clock-ish on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.